Hi everyone, I'm Luna. Welcome back to Luna Eye. The resistance war against the imperialist USA was the toughest and fiercest war in Vietnam's history, leaving behind deep scars, trauma, and pain that remains unhealed even to this very day. The United States Empire mobilized its massive army to terrorize Vietnam with an unprecedented amount of bombs and chemical weapons, saturating the narrow area of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia with horrendous devastation. The American Empire flooded the south of Vietnam with around 3 million troops, a record number which constituted a new type of colonial invasion war for the 21st century. The USA's sadistic and dehumanizing use of illegal chemical warfare against the civilian population of Vietnam was the greatest use of toxic chemicals in warfare in human history, causing catastrophic environmental destruction which still plagues us to this day. I've talked a lot about the Vietnam War in many of my previous videos, but I haven't really discussed much about the long-lasting consequences of these chemical weapons to modern-day Vietnam. So in this video, I will explain how Agent Orange has devastated Vietnam and how we, the people of Vietnam, have struggled to care for our Agent Orange victims with the limited resources we have for over half a century. From 1961 to 1971, the U.S. military sprayed over 80 million liters of chemical herbicide over the south of Vietnam. 60% of these toxic chemicals consisted of Agent Orange, which contained over 366 kilograms of dioxin. The stated goal of this chemical warfare was to destroy the jungle and expose communist military forces to aerial bombardment. Millions of hectares of forest were destroyed by Agent Orange, and the land was poisoned, making it impossible for trees to grow. However, the consequences far exceeded deforestation. According to the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, more than 4.8 million Vietnamese people were directly exposed to Agent Orange and suffered severe consequences from this exposure. Agent Orange is a type of herbicide and defoliant containing dioxin, an extremely toxic substance which has serious consequences for human health and the environment. According to the World Health Organization, dioxin is 300 times more toxic than cyanide poison. Just a small amount of this substance can cause endocrine disorders, damage to the nervous system, and cancer. Dioxin is classified as one of the most dangerous causes of cancer. And even worse, dioxin compounds can survive in the natural environment for decades. A study by Columbia University in New York City conducted in 2002 found that mixing 80 grams, which is less than 3 ounces, of dioxin with water can kill an entire city of 8 million people. So if my math is correct, that means that the 366 kilograms of dioxin that was dropped on Vietnam by the USA has potential to kill 36.6 billion people, 4.5 times the whole populations of the world at this moment. Not only does dioxin cause immediate harm, it also has the potential to cause genetic damage over several generations. According to research by the Vietnam Academy of Sciences, children born to parents affected with dioxin are at high risk of all kinds of birth defects. A statistic from the Vietnam Association of Victims of Agent Orange shows that more than 150,000 Vietnamese children have been directly affected by this genetic damage. In addition, the victims' descendants also face the risk of immunodeficiency, premature chronic disease, and developmental disorders. Dioxin also causes serious damage to the environment, since it is extremely toxic and long-lived in the environment. It also has long-term consequences for soil and water sources. Dioxin sticks deep into the soil, leading to losses in organic fertility and making it difficult for plants to grow. Studies show that dioxin can exist in rivers and lake sediments for decades. According to a report by the United Nations Environment Program, in many heavily contaminated areas in Vietnam, dioxin levels in the soil are 300 times higher than safe levels. This makes agriculture in those areas difficult, threatening the livelihoods of millions of people. Water sources are also poisoned, directly affecting aquatic life and the natural food chain. Overcoming the harmful effects of Agent Orange is a long-term and complex process that requires coordination from many fields, and Vietnam has been using all resources we have to help Agent Orange victims over the last 50 years. In terms of health, victims require special care and treatment. As I mentioned above, more than 4.8 million Vietnamese people were directly affected by dioxin, around 5% of our current population. And to this day, there are over 15,000 second generation, 35,000 third generation, and 2,000 fourth generation of victims who have birth defects from exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam. We are not sure at all if these effects will last to the fifth or even the sixth generation or not. That remains to be seen. Regarding the environment, dioxin detoxification is an extremely difficult challenge. Dioxins can remain in the soil for more than a century if left untreated. Vietnam's nature and wildlife has been heavily damaged by Agent Orange over the last 60 years. 3 million hectares of our land are still affected by dioxin to this day, and on top of that, hundreds of barrels of toxins were left behind by the US after the war and are still buried in our soil to this day. This is why it makes me furious whenever I see Vietnamese fascists blaming the Communist government of Vietnam for a problem of deforestation in Vietnam. The overwhelming cause of jungle disappearance of Vietnam was this horrifying chemical warfare perpetrated by the USA, the country that those fascists blindly worship. As a matter of fact, the Communist government of Vietnam has maintained massive efforts to reforest our country. For the last 35 years, Vietnam has been preserving and regrowing lots of our jungles and mangrove forests. And those efforts have been paying off. Right now, Vietnam leads Asia in forest growth, with jungle coverage of Vietnam increasing from less than 27% in 1980s to 42% coverage today. One of the reasons our reforestation efforts have been so effective is that our government gives stewardship over reforestation to ethnic minorities and locals who have an intimate knowledge of the jungle's natural ecosystems. Unfortunately, reforestation is the easy part compared to dealing with the human cost of Agent Orange. Helping the thousands and thousands of victims through the devastation and aftermath of war and economic embargo and imperialist aggression has been a constant battle which must be continuously waged by the people of Vietnam. Here in Vietnam, nearly every single village has Agent Orange victims. I have an uncle that has mental problems due to Agent Orange, and sadly, his 2 daughters, my cousins, are also affected by this toxin. Thankfully, my uncle and my cousins are all supported by the government. They have free health care and a monthly allowance. Depending on how much the victims are affected by the toxin, the government of Vietnam gives each victim a monthly allowance of between 2.1 million VND and 6.3 million VND. Agent Orange victims also receive free housing and education. So by this year, 2025, Vietnam has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to help Agent Orange victims. Some of that money came from charity groups and NGOs, but most of it came from our own national budget. As you can imagine, this has made it even harder for us to rebuild and grow our economy after decades of war. But we are happy and eager to fight on behalf of our neighbors and family members who are victims of this horrible toxin. And I should also mention that it's not just Vietnamese who have suffered from the effects of Agent Orange. Countless American veterans who fought in the Vietnam War have also suffered from Agent Orange syndrome. In the late 70s, American veterans in Vietnam officially sued American companies that provided the toxin. By 1984, a settlement was made when many American chemical companies, including Dow Chemical, Monsanto, and several others, agreed to pay our $180 million in compensation to American veterans affected by Agent Orange. However, to this day, justice has never been served for the 4.8 million victims of Agent Orange in Vietnam. On January 31, 2004, the Vietnam Association of Victims of Agent Orange sued 37 U.S. companies for their responsibility for producing this chemical. Dow Chemical and Monsanto are the 2 largest companies which produce Agent Orange for the U.S. military that have been named in this lawsuit. 1.5 million Vietnamese victims were parties to this lawsuit. On March 10, 2005, Judge Jack Weinstein of the federal court in the District of Brooklyn dismissed the lawsuit, deciding that its requirements had no basis in law. not accepting this argument. On April 7, 2005, the Bar Association representing Vietnamese victims filed a request for the Second Federal Court of Appeals in New York to retry and veto the previous ruling of Chief Justice Jack Weinstein. However, on February 22, 2008, the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals in New York continued to rule against the lawsuit filed by the Vietnamese Agent Orange victims and upheld the first verdict. On October 6, 2008, Vietnamese victims filed another petition with the U.S. Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court denied this petition on March 2, 2009. In May 2014, Ms. Trần Tố Nga, a Vietnamese woman of French nationality, filed another lawsuit against American chemical companies through a French court. Unfortunately, Ms. Nga's lawsuit also failed, and until now, Agent Orange victims have not received any justice or compensation from Western courts, but there has been some acknowledgement of these war crimes by American officials. In May 2007, the United States Congress allocated a budget of $3 million to overcome the effects of Agent Orange and the environment in some of the most badly affected areas in Vietnam. And in 2009, this spending was increased to $6 million. As of January 1, 2016, the U.S. government has spent about $173 million to address the damages of Agent Orange in Vietnam. Unfortunately, all American efforts to help with cleanup of Agent Orange or to help victims of the toxin in Vietnam ended in March of 2025, when Donald Trump abruptly shut down all foreign aid to Vietnam. Despite this disgusting abandonment of responsibility by the American government, we, the people of Vietnam, will never abandon our Agent Orange victims. Every year, the government of Vietnam approves millions of dollars of budget to support our victims. In addition to housing, healthcare, and education for Agent Orange victims, chapters of the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Unions all over the country hold weekly programs to help those victims by teaching them, cooking for them, building playgrounds for them, holding festivals for them, and so on. And countless ordinary Vietnamese citizens help Agent Orange victims by donating money, food, and clothes. I myself volunteered to teach English for children in a center for Agent Orange victims many times when I was in college. And this year, I tagged along with the Communist Youth Union of Da Nang Education University. These talented and generous students held a Mid-Autumn Festival at a victims center here in Da Nang City. Mid-Autumn is a very big festival for children in Vietnam, which usually takes place in September every year. This year, our youth union decided to hold a big party for these children who are victims of Agent Orange. About a week before the event happened, I made a short video calling for donations from you, my audience. We only had a few days to raise the funds, but so many comrades stepped up from all around the world, and we hit the goal in just 2 days. And here are the results. All of these candies, mooncakes, and star lanterns were prepared for these beautiful children thanks to your donations. Not only that, we also bought a ton of rice and donated it to 2 Agent Orange centers in Da Nang City. And this is me on the stage giving the gift certificate on behalf of my audience to the director of one of the 2 Agent Orange victim centers.
Thực sự là mình phải cảm ơn các bạn trẻ hand đã cùng nhau cống hiến cái sức trẻ và cái thời gian của mình để đến với các em và mang lại niềm vui cho các em. Và thực ra cái số tiền mà mình ủng hộ mọi người ấy, không chỉ là đến từ bản thân mình đâu mà là từ bạn bè quốc tế đấy ạ. Thực sự là những bạn bè quốc tế họ rất quan tâm đến Việt Nam mình và rất là muốn chung tay một phần nào đó để giúp những trẻ em gọi là gặp khó khăn, những trẻ em đặc biệt. Thì hy vọng là với cái chương trình ngày hôm nay xin chúc tất cả các em ở đây luôn luôn hạnh phúc, luôn luôn vui vẻ, mãi mãi giữ được niềm vui và xin cảm ơn tất cả mọi người ạ.
Now the real show finally starts. According to Vietnamese folklore, there is a moon fairy that we call Chị Hằng and a boy that we call Chú Cuội who live together on the moon. In today's festival, we have 2 youth union members who are playing the roles of Chị Hằng and Chú Cuội to introduce the show to the children. We also dance and sing for the kids. We even give them quizzes, and whoever has the right answer will receive a special gift, a super cute handmade lantern. All the kids are so excited about this little game. And just so you know, the youth union members sitting around those kids actually prompted the answers to make sure that they would definitely have their gift. And here's the true star of the show, the Kirin dance! Everybody's so happy and excited. This is our girl team performing the Kirin dance, and this is our drum team. Alongside the two Kirins, we also have Chú Tễu, the traditional Vietnamese clown. Chú Tễu usually wears clothes with strong colors such as golden yellow or red, with a really funny mask and sometimes a big fake belly. His job is to raise the atmosphere and interact with the kids, usually teasing them until they burst into laughter. And here we go! This is our boy team for the Kirin dance. They practice really hard for this performance because there are a lot of difficult moves like this. One Kirin is controlled by two people. Usually, the front person must be really good at doing multiple tasks, such as dancing and controlling the eyes at the same time. The back person must be very strong to carry the front person on their shoulders. And both of them must understand each other's moves very well to be able to dance like this. Everybody really loves this performance. They even try to pet the Kirins. Some kids brought their own little costumes and became little Kirins or little Chú Tễu clowns. So cute! After the Kirin dance comes the candy party. All the candies are on this round table. We follow the Vietnamese tradition. So first, the kids will hold hands around this table, singing and dancing and playing small games to raise each other's spirits. When the time comes, Chú Cuội, the moon boy, announces for everybody to come grab their candies as fast as possible. All the kids are trying to grab as many candies as they could, but remain polite to each other at the same time. Everybody was very happy, and here's the picture of all of us together after the show. This was a very fun and meaningful time that I had with my fellow Communist Youth Union members, along with these precious children who are victims of Agent Orange in Da Nang City. Even though Vietnam is still a developing country, and there are still many more things to do to help these innocent children, the entire nation of Vietnam, the government and the people are working together every day to make life a bit better for everyone, especially the victims of Agent Orange whose lives were destroyed by this vicious toxin that the US sprayed all over our country. Some of you might be asking, aren't Vietnamese people angry? Aren't we outraged by this injustice, this horrible war crime which has cost countless lives and caused untold suffering? To answer your question, yes, of course we are angry. We can't forgive these crimes against us, but we will never ever forget them. And until justice is served to these victims, we will remain angry at the callous government of the USA for doing all this damage to our people. But we don't let our anger consume us. We Vietnamese people will never lose our spirit, never lose our hope for a better future for everyone. We will continue to help the members of our community who are Agent Orange victims, and we will continue to seek justice for them until the USA finally officially recognizes the crimes against humanity they committed in Vietnam. The point is not about the money or financial reparation, though that will certainly help these innocent victims. But the real point is to show the world the true face of the US imperialism and to help the people of the USA to recognize the bloodthirsty nature of their own government. The journey to justice will never stop. If you are an American worker, please know that the people of Vietnam do not blame you for your government's crimes. All we want is for our people, the working people of all nations, to come together and build a better world together. I hope you will join us in building towards that dream. Thank you for watching.